Today on my channel, Planner Friends, we are diving into one of my favorite places. It's a happy planner. I'm using it as a creative faith journal. So I'll show you August, and then we are gonna decorate together in here. This is one of my absolute favorite places. So join me and let's have some talk about God as our rock, our refuge, our fortress, our salvation, and our shield. Stay tuned, friends. Hello, planner friends, and welcome to my channel. I'm One Crafty Dolo. I'm so happy you're here with me today. Thank you for taking your time and spending it with me. Okay. So as I said in the intro, we are going to do some decorating today in this creative faith journal of mine. It's a classic vertical happy planner. I picked it up on a whim because I love butterflies, I love the colors and so forth. And so I decided, a follower suggested using this as a creative journal. And that's exactly what I've been doing, but it is faith-based. On Sundays on my channel, it's always about Jesus, faith studies, and a good cup of tea. And so this is where we are today. This journal, I love the space. I just love it. That's all I'm going to say. So every week I come up with a theme. I have a small happy planner, faith planner. I've been jotting verses down in there as I go through my various studies. I am into my third year of faith studies and Bible study, and I feel what a transformation it's made for me. And this space is helping me in many ways. I've discovered creativity. I've discovered fun in creativity and fun in creative faith. So every week, as I was saying, I come up with a theme. We are created in His image, and I go through my studies. I write them in the other planner, and I go back then before I start in here and think, gee, what is it this week? And what I do like to do, not always, sometimes it's mostly Old Testament or Hebrew Bible, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it's New Testament. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. This was about the Holy Spirit, and all I focused on was the John, and it was mostly, 14, 15, and 16, really just parts of each. And you can see in here, excuse me, I use a lot of glitter paint, markers. I'm just having fun. This week, I focused on the idea of God as our rock and what else is He. So there were a lot of Psalms in here, and I thought that was a good thing. So I love the Psalms. I need to do a study just on the Psalms, and I stenciled in here, of course, the markers. Now, today is Friday, sorry. I hadn't planned on filming. I was going to do something else, and I thought, no, let me do this. And so I got a few days ahead here. And what I did is, God is merciful. And in my little mini planner, I went through and took Old Testament, Exodus, New Testament, Luke, Old Testament, Deuteronomy, New Testament, Luke. So I play with these ideas of what I'm doing, how I'm doing. No paint in this one, lots of stickers. Like some of these are on here already, but then I added butterflies are important for me personally. So I wanted to come in and start decorating for September, which I can't believe in a day it's September. I mean, or 2 days. Anyway, so I had picked these up from Dollar Tree. I thought I could use them. I grabbed some of my sticker books. I think I'm going to grab some ink. Let me get my my silicone mat, some inks, and let's just play and talk faith. Alrighty, we're all set up. These are all Ranger archival inks I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I think it was Hobby Lobby. I don't know. It was years ago. orange blossom, goldenrod, and English ivy. We're getting into the fall here, so slowly but surely it got warm again. I'm just going to use, let me think here a minute, I'm going to just play, so, and we can talk faith, and yeah, let's just have some fun. I'm going to use a larger one. So the last week I was looking at God is merciful, and God is our rock. The week before that, and what is he also? So some of the verses I want to talk to you about, they are from the Psalms, and the idea that God is our strength, our shield, and our rock. I am honest and transparent on this channel, and I deal with anxiety. I don't like it. Nobody likes anxiety. But one thing about anxiety is that it's always looking for a place to land. It will latch. Once you've got it, it's very difficult. Sometimes you need medication. Sometimes you need talk therapy. I mean, there's just such a variety of ways. Pastoral counseling has helped me. And I'm better than I was, trust me. But the question becomes, why and how do we become anxious? And how can God help us through that process and dealing with it? And I've started to look at these studies as ways to get through that and to heal from it. It's a lifelong condition. Anxiety, you know, I love people who are like, well, just don't be anxious. Okay, yeah, sure. Or, well, think of something else. Well, that doesn't always work now, does it? But I have found that by digging into scriptures, I have found myself better than I was in terms of dealing with it. And so how and why and so forth, right? That's the question. So I recently was in my prayer journal, and this psalm really stood out to me. And I talked a little bit about it before, but we're going to start with this one. It's Psalm 18. And I'm just going to quote it briefly. I love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield. I mean, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. So let's just pick that apart a little bit. Can we? What is God in this? Just a few verses. I believe it's 1 and 2 only that I quoted you out of Psalm 18. God is your rock. God is your strength. God is your refuge, your fortress, and your shield. That's 5 different ways God is in our lives. Now, extrapolating that a little bit further, how do we apply that when we're dealing with anxiety? First off, I want to say that it is my belief that the world creates anxiety and fosters anxiety. That is just, to me, a fact. Why? Well, if you're anxious and you're struggling, the world can sell you a bunch of things, and the world can tell you, this is what you need and who you are and what you should do. If you're strong and you cannot listen to the world, well, that's great, and I'm glad for you. And it's not even about, recently I was on a call. I do advocacy work. I'm chronically ill. I have scleroderma. So I was on a call, and we were talking about navigating an illness. And I said one word, I said people. People can be hard, and we're used to interacting with our families in certain ways, our friends in other ways. But then what do we do when it's not just that and we're out in the world, and how do we navigate that? And somebody's like, well, who cares what people think? I don't care what people think. I really don't. But navigating the world can be hard. So when I say the world fosters and creates anxiety, I'm just thinking a minute here. Yeah, let's do this first. The world creates anxiety. It creates a sense of you're not this, you're not that. Isn't it amazing how the world will say everything it thinks you're not, which to my mind is not true, and try to push you into, different ways. Consume more, buy more, do this, do that. Whereas if you're taking a faith-centric approach to your life, well, you're looking at it a bit differently. It's hard to do. Okay, let's be very clear. It's hard to do in this world because, you're living in the world, right? We're living in real life. So the question then becomes, what does it mean then to turn to God in this midst of this world and talk and ask for help with anxiety? Okay, so what I'd like to do is suggest that God is the enforcer of good. God is, think about your life and all the times perhaps you've been shown mercy, right? And you were maybe in a tough situation and you got out of it. Well, who was your backup? It certainly was God. And how do you change the focus from God being, quote, the backup, or how do you put God first? Well, stop yourself, okay? Just stop yourself where you are at that moment. And I always call it, talking yourself down. And again, I know sometimes that's really easier said than done. And turn to the scripture, turn to God, and you have the right to say, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing, but I need help. I do know that much. And so this is where these studies come in for me. And those 5 things, I want you to think about, what does it mean that God is your rock? It means that in a world where people can be nice or not nice, they can turn on a dime, correct? In a world where things are so difficult, you've got God to lean on. And we don't always see that for what it is, but it's there. He's present and he wants to help us through. And I think that's another place where we get tripped up. We think, I know I'm guilty of this. We think we have to do it all ourselves, don't we? Aren't we good at that? Well, we don't. I was just talking to my son about this recently. And I was kind of saying to him, like, why are you so stubborn? Don't you see that I'm here to help you and I can do this? And he's like, well, but, Mom, but. And I was like, no, buts. That's what a family is. That's what we do. And that's what God does. He is there as your rock. And when nobody else is around and when people are really doing the things that people do, we know that, right? There's God waiting for you to turn to him. Okay, I just added one more sticker there. Now I want to put down some of these fun embellishments. Yeah, we've got a theme here today going, don't we? It's kind of fun. Okay, so God is your rock. God is your strength, meaning we all have times in our life where we feel completely depleted. And God is there to say, no, you're not. I've got you. I know who you are. I created you. And I want you to be strong. I need you to be strong. And when you think of it that way, you say, well, how can I be strong? God is saying, in me. You will be strong within me. And when I realized that, I have to tell you, it was quite an epiphany. And I know this intellectually, but what about practical application? The same with refuge. God is our refuge, right? What does that mean? That means when the world is just too doggone much, you have the right to say, you know what? I'm exhausted. I need help. Who do I turn to? You pray and you read scripture. I know it might sound a little simplistic, but I'm telling you, those 5 attributes in Psalm 18 have helped me. My fortress, I have learned to use that. If I'm walking into something, either I know I'm walking into something or I'm not sure, I have learned to use that as a bulwark against being anxious about going into certain situations. Does that make sense to you? In other words, I say, hey, you know what? I've got this. I know I can do this. I'm not fearful. You know what I mean? I've got God. So fortress means, and shield, well, the armor of God, the shield of faith, right? Ephesians, I believe it's 6, talks extensively about that. And so my suggestion is, if you're like me, maybe you have anxiety, maybe you don't, but my suggestion is to really memorize these 5 attributes and try your best to incorporate them into your daily life as best as you can. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a little bit more from different Psalms to kind of back up what I'm saying. So over here, I'm reading them, so I don't have them memorized. From Psalm 62, verse 2, okay? Or no, let's go Psalm 62, verse 1. For God alone my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. 62, 2. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be greatly shaken. What we're reading in that passage, in my rudimentary field of knowledge here, is King David, right? And he goes through a lot. He certainly is shaken, but then he realizes that he will be okay. He has God, he has his shield, and that's important for each of us, especially in this crazy world where people just seem, I don't know, are they getting crazier, or is it my imagination? So again, the first passages were from Psalm 18, and this is Psalm 62. And finally, Psalm 62, verse 7. O God, on God rests my salvation and my glory. My mighty rock, my refuge is God. So I don't know about you. I was a professor. I taught. And sometimes repetition is boring, especially with students now, learners, whatever age, because, Google Brain, as it's called. And yet there is a certain value in some repetition. And I think that reminding yourself, if you're not fully picking it up yet and it's not front and center, and maybe you do have anxiety and maybe you are dealing with different things, I want to say to you, slow down. Repeat it, rinse, repeat. Your rock, your refuge, your fortress, your salvation, your shield, and put that front and center as you go through your days. And if you're like me, you're dealing with anxiety, I'm keeping it front and center. Does it work perfectly? No. I'll be honest with you, of course not. Nothing does. But it certainly helps. It certainly helps me through the rough spots. And so part of my being on this channel and being transparent and sharing with you how I'm feeling is to help you through it. It's, I'm not always comfortable talking about being ill. I'm not always comfortable about talking about anxiety, but I also know that we are all human, and I know I'm not alone because I have God. And I want you to know, I would really love to save you some of the trouble I've gone through if you want the truth of the matter. So that's why I come on here. That's why I do these videos. That's why I talk to you, because I want you to know and feel you are not alone. And I think I'm going to leave it there, friends. Sometimes I overdo it with Deco, but I just wanted to add a little extra color. I'm looking forward to September. If I can pray for you, drop it in the comments below. It is my privilege and my honor to do so. And combine your faith with creativity. Psalm 100 tells us to make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Well, I'm certainly not going to be singing, but except in church or in the car. But this is my joyful noise. Thank you for being here today, friends. And I'm wishing you a blessed week, a blessed month in September. And together we are stronger, and we are stronger in God's love and mercy. Have a great week, Planner and Faith friends. Bye now.